Welcome back, y'all. I'm so glad that you've decided to join us for another episode of The Kentuckian. I hope that you all are having a fantastic holiday season. We're right in the middle of that now. And by the time that you see this video, Thanksgiving should be over, and we'll be heading rapidly to Christmas. I thought that it'd be a good time to consider the importance of holidays, what they mean to us, why we like them, those sorts of questions, and be kind of interesting, not as much political. There'll be a little bit of political stuff we talk about, cultural stuff, but just sort of discuss holidays in general. Of course, holidays are generally a very good time and a time that I look forward to, and I hope that you all do as well. I think most people do. But that kind of brings us into our first question. Why do we like holidays? Again, I think this will be kind of fun to consider, but it is an interesting question as well. And by the way, the first reason I'm going to talk about here, I believe, is also the reason a lot of people like fall, or one of the big reasons a lot of people like fall. Just kind of an aside, just sort of a intuitive thought of mine, I suppose. But to answer the question, why do we like holidays, the first reason that I want to bring up, I think, goes back really to nature and to people's connection with nature, and sort of really some things that are going to seem almost common sense or obvious, but that we don't really deal with today. Fall, when most older holidays take place, some take place in winter, but fall is a lot of holidays and festivals take place there and have for centuries or longer. Fall is a time when there's a lot of things going on in the world. The harvests are either just finished, or maybe there's some things that are being harvested, so they're in the middle of harvest, and depending on what time of fall and what crops you're talking about or what animals you're talking about. Winter is coming, so we have plants and animals that are preparing for the long cold, and it is a time of plenty, but it is also a time of preparation. It marks a transition from the relatively easy days of spring and summer to the harsh times of winter. And all your work for the year is coming to a head in fall. It's a time when people gather together, they batten down the hatches and do many of the inside jobs that went undone because of the necessity to get out and plow and plant and hoe. And the earth itself makes it harder to survive outside during the winter and fall transitions into that. And so we're more incentivized to stay in, right? It starts getting colder, it gets really cold in winter, and so on. You can die in fall if you're not careful, if you're in a bad situation. It's very easy. From a weather perspective, if it's any kind of cool at all. So there's that element. I think that's one reason that we have this connection to festivals and holidays, because of that sort of survival origin, if you will, that we've got to grow food, and this is sort of when everything kind of transitions from growing to hanging on for dear life during the winter, but of course, hopefully not hanging on, that is one of those things. Food preservation is something that has been an issue for all of human history, basically. And one of the things with fall is you do have a lot, and part of the reason you have a lot is because you can't save everything for the winter. If you were gonna not use some of those things, they would just spoil and be wasted, and you certainly don't want that to happen. Even things like chickens, when you're talking about laying eggs, chickens don't lay as many eggs during the winter. So hopefully you've got food that can get you through. And I guess in some places in the winter, chickens probably don't lay really any eggs, but that's a different issue. I believe that there's also a spiritual element to holidays. Now, of course, some of the spiritual element is overtly religious, right? We understand that. Thanksgiving is a holiday to give thanks to God for all that we've been blessed with. Christmas is for many a time to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, although Christmas does have pagan origins, which are still, I guess, religious. Some of it is more relationship-based. It's a time where people make an effort to be with family, and family often works a little harder to put up with each other a little better. Not all the time, but a lot of times. And there's an innate connection to the world that God has blessed us with when it comes to holidays. Of course, the word holiday comes from the word holy day. There's a religious side there, especially from the Catholic Church, at least where the word came from. And there's just a very kind of spiritual human relationship element to it. Even Christmas's pagan origins are related to nature, and not just in the sense of like fall, we're getting ready for winter. There was a pagan religious connection, spiritual connection with nature. And of course, I guess in a roundabout way, we do have a spiritual connection with nature. But of course, they had it much more formalized, right? They had their pagan rituals and in some cases idols and sacrifices and other things that they would do that was connected with nature, but there was a religious element to it, a spiritual element to it. And there are other holidays and festivals, actually many holidays and festivals, some of which we don't even celebrate anymore, that have older origins that are connected to nature, connected to the time of the year, and again, in a more of a spiritual sense. The winter solstice, which we don't really celebrate, but at a time that used to be a really big deal. That's sort of there's a spiritual kind of nature element to that for the pagan origins. Even Halloween was a time when really a lot of what Halloween came from was the time where they believed that the spiritual and the physical worlds were closer connected during that time of year for whatever reason, or some kind of similar reasoning. The relative peace and solitude of fall, and I think this is another important element, in the coming winter, where things are slowing down. Again, we're not doing a bunch of outside work. We can't do a bunch of outside work. We're doing things inside. We're perhaps reading and studying. Some people are going to school, and they couldn't go to school in the summer. But in general, the kind of slowing down and that peace and solitude that starts with fall and goes especially into winter, gives us time as people to think and to reflect on what's really important. But all of this to say, all of these different factors and elements, and I'm sure there's some that I haven't discussed. Maybe you'd like to talk about them in the comments below. I'd love to hear your input on that. But all this to say that holidays and festivals are a time for us to enjoy life, where we have plenty, we're enjoying the good times that are on us, and to be rejuvenated as people. We have that time to sit back, to rest, to prepare for winter, and to sit back and think a little bit too, not just prepare. And perhaps you could take this for what it is, but perhaps it speaks to the human spirit that we take so much of our rejuvenation and rest right before the hardest time of the year. Maybe not just because it's going to be hard, but also maybe a little bit of, as humans, we persevere through so much. And so even in the face of the coming winter, we can be rejuvenated, remotivated, relaxed, and so on. And maybe we need the rejuvenation and the preparation for the coming onslaught of All I Want for Christmas Is You that's going to be coming and probably hearing already. I know, it was some low-hanging fruit, but I felt I just had to go for it. Anyway, now I do want to get into a little bit of political side, and that's asking the question that I think we probably all realize is there, but perhaps haven't answered ourselves, is why do the left hate Western holidays so much? We like holidays a lot. We've talked about some of the reasons why holidays are so important to us. There's kind of that connection with nature, our connection with family, the religious connections, all these different things. But why does the left hate it so much? Why is there such a concerted effort to undermine basically every single significant Western holiday out there through claims of racism, colonialism, where they reject Christianity as the only evil religion in the world, cultural appropriation, whatever those different reasons they try and use to delegitimize Western holidays? Why? Why are they so determined? I mean, they don't do that with other holidays. They don't do that with Hindu holidays. They don't do that with Japanese holidays. They don't do that with Chinese holidays. They don't do it with Muslim holidays. Why do they do it with Western holidays? And just to beat you to the comments, I understand that, Japanese holidays may be religious, they may not, and Chinese and so on and so forth, just for sake of illustration. But why do they hate Western holidays so much? Well, really, it's for the reason that we like Western holidays so much. And I say Western, I mean, part of it is generally most of my audience is Western people, so we're going to like these holidays more. There's some other elements too. I don't want to get too far off in the weeds, though. But remember that they're trying to destroy Western civilization. They're trying to destroy Western countries. And what do holidays do? They help us, right? They make us better. They ground us. They remind us of what's really important as people. The left doesn't want that. If we have all of those things, if we're more grounded, if we're stronger as people, if we have stronger relationships with our families, if we have a stronger connection to our heritage and nature, we're a whole lot harder to control. They don't want that. They want to tear that down so they can form us into what they want. Again, there's that strong cultural and traditional element. Most holidays remind us of our heritage to one degree or another, of our past, and they give a stronger identity as well. Holidays make you better. And there's just a lot of folks out there that don't want you to be better. That's really what it boils down to. They think that all this is evil and they want to destroy it for many different reasons. And it really is that simple. Holidays are healthy. They're good for us. They uplift us. They strengthen us. And so they must be eliminated, or they must be perverted to such a level that their good qualities can be eliminated or basically minimized, right? Holidays are too good of a thing for people for them to be accepted by many on the political left and on the cultural left. This is the reason that they've tried to make Christmas all about the stuff that you can get. This is why they've tried to make Thanksgiving a feast of self-serving gluttony instead of a time for Thanksgiving. This is why they've even tried to make your Halloween just about candy and slasher films. Now, Halloween is a bit of a different beast because of kind of some of the ins and outs with the origins of Halloween. If you'd like for me to dig into that in a different, maybe a special video or a different episode, let me know in the comments below. But even then, they degrade what Halloween was originally about or originally focused around. Now, there are some holidays that come from special sources, and these are still hated by the left generally as well. The 4th of July in America, the Bastille Day in France, which kind of serves as their 4th of July, it's July 14th. They're holidays to celebrate independence, freedom, and sacrifice to achieve what really matters in this world. Veterans Day here in America, which we just had 3 weeks ago, and Armistice Day in Europe are commemorative of the end of one of the most destructive wars in human history. And it's a day to memorialize the sacrifice and service of our soldiers. Easter is a strictly religious holiday that originates from the Spring Fertility Festival. But again, it's something that is strictly religious. And there's some other odd and end holidays that are scattered around. But even then, they usually signify something of importance to us, either in the time that they are hearkening to, Easter with the resurrection of Jesus Christ, of course, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and kind of the significance of the days there, and maybe not Memorial Day, actually, but those sorts of things. There's still some kind of connection. I guess even Memorial Day, you could say, because of the beginning of the summer season, when a lot of people go on vacation, it's kind of the start of summer, is Memorial Day. So it's kind of a different reason because we don't farm as much as we used to, and we're not as worried about winter as we used to, but there's still something of significance in the world around us, right? The coming of summer, summer break, that time of year where it's hot, people like to get out on the water, those sorts of things. But even then, most of those holidays are still unacceptable for some or all of the reasons that we've already discussed. I would say in general, they just get a little more specific in the reasons they're problematic according to the left. But remember, though, that most of these holidays, even though they are the more modern holidays, even though they are more modern, they do serve a similar purpose to the older, bigger holidays, if you want to think of it that way, especially you think about Christmas and Thanksgiving. But they serve a similar purpose. There's just a different motivation behind them. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And that motivation is still generally something the left doesn't like. And I would remind you, and this is kind of the third point that I wanted to make, I would remind you and encourage you to prioritize holidays for the reasons that we've already discussed. We need stronger communities. We need stronger families. We need stronger identity and all around stronger people more than ever. I understand that there are sometimes other considerations as to whether you're going to celebrate a holiday or not. Usually those are religious in nature. That's okay. I have those same considerations sometimes. But for the holidays that you do decide to celebrate, be sure to prioritize them. The things involved in holidays are foundational or go to the very essence of who we are as people. They help us. They make us stronger. They're good for us, right? Even a connection with nature because of when it's going on and those sorts of things. Celebrate them, prioritize them. They're so foundational. And hey, celebrate holidays, if for no other reason, celebrate them to tick off the leftists. I mean, that's probably reason enough, right? Seriously, though, do prioritize the holidays you decide to participate in, and ticking off the leftists is just a little bonus, I suppose. Well, thank you all once again. I do wish you all the best for the holiday season. If you need gift ideas, the Kentuckian has some great merchandise available. A little shameless plug there. I don't know how quickly they can get things to you, printed and shipped. They have to do all that. I don't know how quickly that'll take, or how long that will take, I should say. So I would get your orders in as soon as possible. If you're interested in supporting the Kentucky in a more personal way, my Patreon is linked in the description below. And you have access to some unique things there, and you get to have a little more personal relationship with me, actually, because I do make a point to communicate with my patrons and such. But there's lots of ways you can support the Kentuckian, like this video, all those things. People say it all the time, but it really does make a difference, and I'm not just saying that. It has a huge effect. But nonetheless, I want you to remember, my friends, that as long as you and I are doing what's right, we make a real difference in this old world. This has been Ryan Dalton of the Kentuckian, signing off.